Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Normally I would have Tom Knighton joining me at this point. He is working on getting connected. Whoops, here he comes, I think. This is where he's coming in. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. There we go. I think I got you.
Okay.
So everybody, this is the attitude
Yeah,
behind
we're
bearing
having
arms.
some issues on my end.
It's still a real awful lag, and you're breaking up real bad. But we're gonna give it a try, man. And unfortunately,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on my end.
this is not the only technical problem I'm having today. For some reason, the vMix software that I use to connect social media is not so much connecting the social media, at least not on the YouTube side. And so, what I'm going to recommend, no matter where you're watching us, if you want to get a comment in, go to Twitter and tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. That will that gets here faster than either the Facebook or YouTube video comments that I usually rely on. And for some reason, the social media commentary from Facebook and YouTube just isn't allowing me to connect. So, if you want to get a comment in, do it that way. Tom, the first story I want to talk to you about today. Over the weekend, it turns out that there's a 5-term congressperson out of Los Angeles. She's now running for mayor of Los Angeles. Her name is Karen Bass, and by the way, she's got an absolutely correct first name, Karen. A five-term Democrat. Yeah, exactly. 5-term Democrat congressman had her home broken into this past weekend. I don't wish that on anybody. What's odd is what she's claiming. She's claiming that there were 2 guns stolen, no electronics, no cash, no other valuables. The only thing stolen in this robbery, this break-in, were 2 guns. And yet they were properly secured handguns. She wanted to make absolutely clear that was in every press release and every news story I've seen, they were properly secured guns. Tom, they must have been really, really, really big guys to carry that gun safe out of there.
Right? And you'd think that if they were going to carry a gun safe, they carry out at least televisions. They're lighter.
Yeah, they are. She's been one in the past that has advocated hard for laws that if your gun gets stolen and it is not secured, that you are responsible for the crimes that gun is committed with. So they want the victims of crime who had their gun stolen to pay for the crimes that the bad guys commit. Well, Karen, I expect you to sell every stinking thing you own right now, because when those guns turned up to whoever you gave them to, you're going to end up paying for those crimes.
Yeah, I mean, if she's gonna expect that out of me and out of you and out of everybody watching, she needs, put up or shut up, lady.
Yeah.
It's not our fault that your guns got stolen. And again, obviously we know there's no way they were properly secured. The only way they were properly secured was in one of those little briefcase style safes that can be walked out relatively easy and entered easily with one of the free gun locks you can get when you buy a gun. Those are not theft preventatives.
No,
and based on her politics and the way she's pushed stuff. What's that?
No, those gun locks, those cable locks, the only thing they do is prevent temporarily, and I mean very temporarily, the gun from being fired. And if you install them correctly, the
Yeah,
gun from being
they're
loaded.
yeah they're fine for keeping curious young hands from doing something stupid with the gun. They are not theft. They are not anti-theft devices at all. Um, and if that's what she went with, they were not properly secured by her own standards. If
Yes.
I am going to be responsible for, what's carried out by a criminal who has stolen my gun, I'm going to need a way to prevent them from being. That means a heavy duty safe. And yeah, I'm not believing they stole a couple of handguns out of a heavy duty gun and nothing else.
Yeah.
I don't, no, sorry.
When I heard that there was 2 guns stolen and nothing else, like you know,
Mm-hmm.
at the very least, she has some televisions, she has laptop computers, or something else in that house that's worth something.
And she's a member of Congress. You're
Yes.
trying to tell me the jewelry that she has never bought any jewelry that could be, and jewelry is easier to move in illegal circles in a lot of ways than guns. It's not serialized. If you have a little bit of the know-how, you can melt gold down into a format that is even easier to move. Raw stones are, damn near untraceable. And they didn't touch any of that, but went for the guns.
Yeah. I myself, I'm speaking as Paul Lathrop and Paul Lathrop only, think she gave them to somebody that shouldn't have them. That's called a straw purchase, by the way. And
Yeah.
and I'm sure that person didn't pass a background check, and then she thought about it. Well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So, oops, they were stolen.
Yeah, and get ahead of it before there's a crime. And oh yeah, see, I told you they were stolen.
Yeah.
I don't care if she's wanting me to pay for someone acting, breaking the law after breaking the law and stealing my guns. She gets no sympathy.
Yeah.
She forfeited that right.
Yeah, my thought for all laws, for all politicians is you first. I want you to comply with the law you propose first, and then we'll talk about me doing it. So yeah,
Right.
Karen, I expect you to sell everything you own right now to get prepared to pay for the life that's being taken with the guns you didn't secure enough.
Yep, absolutely. I'm totally cool with that.
All right, I am getting a Facebook comment in here. Let me get that one up. George says, my family was burglarized 6 times while we lived in the LA area. We all left for various destinations. I'm not going to fault anybody that leaves the California, let alone, LA, yeah, see ya. But I'm not going to fault anybody leaving California or LA.
No, the only question I usually ask is, what took you so long?
Yeah. And follow that up with, usually, depending on where they move, welcome to free America.
Yeah. Leave the politics at the border.
The next story I want to talk about, this really smart guy, Tom Knighton. Yeah, now, Tom Knighton, I should say, he wrote about that Karen Bass story as well, but I couldn't read it because it's behind a paywall at Bearing Arms. So,
But if you throw code Tom to get your VIP membership, you get 10% off.
Well, hey, there you go. Saying. I'm going to have to get all over that.
Absolutely.
Next story that was written also by Tom Knighton. This one hit today about a half an hour, about 40 minutes ago. Looks like it's an impossibility, dude. Full auto switches for Glocks are turning up in Connecticut. And,
yeah. It's a mystery.
Yeah. Bad people are getting bad things.
And Yeah, let's be honest. These Glock switches, they're a combination of these full auto switches are a combination of two factors. One is they can be 3D printed.
Yeah.
So it gets a 3D printer off Amazon can get themselves a full auto switch if they want one. But we're also seeing a lot of these being imported from China. The Chinese government that makes a lot of noise about our gun laws doesn't do anything about state-owned businesses, because the state has a stake in pretty much everything over there. They
A
don't do
majority
anything
state.
about these. Yeah, and they don't do anything about these full auto switches that are being produced in their country and then shipped.
Yeah. Um, my understanding is that these switches are originally they were made for paintball guns, and the paintball guns were designed to look like Glocks. And somebody
May have been the airsoft.
Airsoft, exactly. I'm sorry, airsoft. The airsoft was designed to look like a Glock. Somebody got inventive and decided to try it on a real Glock, and oops, it works. And they told a few friends, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people know, and a lot of people started ordering them. So,
and again, China knows this, and I have covered all of the anti stories from state-run media over there. Sometimes written by Westerners, sometimes not. But it's generally very much those Americans, don't they understand? And yet they're contributing something that is illegal in every state. It's illegal on the federal level, and they're shipping them over here wholesale.
Yeah. That they would fill those container trailers, that they ship across. They'd fill shipfuls of them if they could.
Yeah, I mean, and it's again, it's illegal everywhere. This is federal law.
Yeah,
there's no
1984
wiggle room, and yet, yeah, and unless you can find one that was made prior to 84, it's not even readable. You cannot lawfully own one of these except for a couple of very, very specific exceptions that 99.9% of us do not fall into.
Now, and law
enforcement can access them if they want.
We should point out that both you and I think that's wrong. I think that Tom Knighton ought to be able to buy a full auto Glock 17 if he so chooses.
I think if I got the money, I should be able to buy an F-18 Hornet.
Yes. Or an F-22 Raptor or a M1A battle tank. Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about what the law is, not what the law should be here.
Yes.
Just absolutely. To be very, very clear, because Paul and I are on the same same book on this. We don't think we shouldn't be barred from buying these, but it is the law, and it's the law that people in Connecticut, the anti-gunners in Connecticut, actually wholeheartedly approve of. They don't think you should be able to get this kind of stuff. The story I wrote, it actually one person saying there's no reason for a lawful civilian to have one of these. Of course, I disagree because, well, if the bad guy would have that kind of firepower, I'd like to be able to meet it with a like amount of firepower.
Well, let's be quite clear. If we were to happen to be, and this is not entirely out of the realm of possibility, if Mexico decides they want California back, I'm going to say let them have it. But if they decide they want Texas back, I want the good people of Texas to have the same type of firearms that invading army is going to have. If the movie Red Dawn,
Texans are more discerning, so they're going to have better because their stuff's not going to be mil spec.
Yes. They're not going to have an M4. They're going to have the FN version that is tricked out and more reliable. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
if the real version of Red Dawn, the original, not that awfulness that they called a remake, happens, I want people to be able to meet those paratrooping invaders with full auto, and you're not going to be able to do that right now.
I remember seeing when invasion first started and you got the paratroopers landing at the high school.
Yeah.
How great would it be as if every student just opened the window and laid them all out with suppressive fire?
Yes.
Just pop open the windows and start taking out Russians. It would have been a
World's shortest but world's best movie.
Yes. Right. If America was the way we would like it to be,
there wouldn't be any horror movies.
15 minutes.
And there wouldn't be any horror movies. What's that? Friday the 13th?
One of my favorite authors is, one of my favorite authors is Larry Correia.
Yes.
And this Monster Hunter International series is basically predicated on what if the people in horror movies weren't morons?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all going after these monsters with lots and lots of guns. It is glorious.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Promo code Tom doesn't save you 10% on that, unfortunately. But anyways.
I do want to... the next story, this comes off of Breitbart. This is a AWR Hawkins story. Hillary apparently has a Apple TV show. And during her Apple TV debut, she said, Americans worship guns more than life. Well, I think you got that wrong. I think Hillary wants us to worship her more than we worship guns. And she's just going to have to keep wanting, bud.
Yeah. Well, what annoys me about this is it is predicated on the idea that we actually agree with them that can save lives. We just won't implement it. Because that's the only way their claims make the least bit of anything resembling sense. That, well, you worship guns more than you worship lives, than you want to save lives or anything like that. It's like, well, we don't think gun control saves lives. We've got there's plenty of studies that show that at best it has impact. At best.
Yes.
On violent crime. But it makes things more difficult for law to exercise Second Amendment rights. You don't change that by pretending that, it shouldn't matter. Hillary and a lot of people like her think that we think like they do and are just too stubborn to accept the restrictions that we really all know is for our best good. It's not the case at all. We all know that gun control does not have the effect they say. They don't want to listen. When we talk about why it's gun control, I mean, this is literally what I do every single day. This is how I put food on the table for my family. And it's that absolutely none of them have ever actually read the arguments I've laid out. They've never taken them under consideration from anyone else presenting them. They have it in their head that we, like them, think this one way. And they frame us as uncaring because, well, they know it works. No, we don't. We know no such thing. Look at what happened after G68 was passed. This was a bill meant to control the dispersal of guns for regular street crimes. NFA 44 was targeting the mob ultimately.
Right.
But GCA 68 was your regular garden variety. Crime skyrocketed after the law was passed. It did nothing to reduce crime. We hit some of the highest homicide rates in American history shortly after GCA 68, all the way up through the 90s.
Well, and what dropped the murder rate was states like Arizona, Florida, and others going shall issue, and the general public getting access to firearms they could carry in public. That I don't want to fall into the trap of correlation is causation, but I believe that had a large amount to do with the drop in violent crime. Was in several areas the criminals had to become much better at victim selection.
Yeah, correlation doesn't equal causation, but causation should equal correlation. And if their argument that more guns on the street leads to more crime, why did the rise of concealed carry correspond to reduction in violent crime?
Yeah.
If they're what they have said over and over again is remotely true, the opposite is what we should have seen. Now, is that the sole reason? No, I think violent crime is complicated, and that is not the only reason we saw a reduction. I also think that people being able to work out their anger issues in violent video games instead of being violent with people may have also helped, because the rise of the video game also correlates with the reduction in violent crime. So that's also possible. But
that's entirely plausible.
Guns are bad. Yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't working out violent urges, they're just, instead of going out there and getting into trouble, they're sitting at home playing Mario Brothers. Okay, I'm fine with that. But if what they've said is true, we should see the opposite. We don't. It's a lie. We know it's a lie. We can look at the data and see it's a lie. It doesn't matter how many times we say it's a lie, though, because they're not going to listen. They're not listening. It's just simple.
You just caused me to think of something. There are a lot of people on our side, and I know a few strong gun rights advocates, and I've had on-the-air discussions with a few of them that are very much anti-video game because they think it implants in young people in that it's easy to kill people. And I'm going to say no, and I have said before, and I say it now, no more than cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers did when I was 6 years old. And you know what? It was more than a controller then. It was me holding a cap gun in my hand and pointing it at a young friend and actually pulling the trigger.
And I would say it's actually harder to do in a video game because it requires a certain degree of skill.
Yeah.
Back when we played cops and robbers, you fired in the general direction, it was good enough.
Yeah, exactly. I shot you. No, you didn't. You missed.
Actually got a hit, Yeah. So everybody had those conversations. But my son is a video gamer. And when he first got his first console, I said, okay, here's a stipulation. You play violent video games. And he looked at me like, wait, what? And I'm like, I want you working out any aggression you have on digital characters.
Yeah.
He hadn't shot up a school yet.
Well, and I'm going to say I'm of the age where I grew up when I was a very young kid. The coolest game on the planet was Pong. And yet when my kids,
I had an Atari.
Yeah. When my kids were getting of the age, I was still young enough that, hey, that looks pretty cool. Maybe Dad will join the kids on their, PlayStation 2 when it became that, and so on. And my kids and I together have played Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. We played Halo. We've done things like that. And yeah, I had those discussions with my kids as well. And you're right, it is a great way to take out aggression. I have driving games that I very realistic driving games, And if you will kill people if you try to drive like that on the street. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Tom?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I was just agreeing with you.
All right. Yeah, and I the connection we have, it sounded like he was coming in. So, let me
Yeah.
see
Sorry
here.
about
Is
that.
Nah, it's let's see. One more. I want to talk, and I don't know if you've written about this yet. UPS now is basically they they've gone full woke now. Unless you ship 350 handguns a week, UPS says, yeah, we're just not going to handle your business anymore if you're shipping handguns. And so basically, UPS is getting out of 99.5%. They'll still handle, I'm sure, H&K. I'm sure they'll still handle, although H&K may not ship 350 handguns a week. They'll still handle Glock. They'll still handle Smith and Wesson. But most of most of the country is going to have to do without UPS shipping for handguns. They're a private company. I'm going to kind of say good riddance, and I hope FedEx doesn't go woke. And maybe there's room for another shipping company to go unwoke. What do you think?
Yeah. It's in UPS's potential defense, and I'm just speculating on this. There's been a number of cases recently where UPS employees stole guns. So I wonder if they're worried about a liability issue on that front, and that's why they reached this decision. If so, they should have said, "Hey, this is what's going on. We're concerned. We're getting out of the business, except for larger scale orders." But if they're not going to ship them, somebody else will step up and go, "I'll ship them." We'll work it out, and it could be. I don't think it's going to be enough to kill UPS, but it could be enough to give someone else a step up.
Yeah. Well, and let's face it, UPS ships so much that firearms, if they totally give up firearms, it's going to be definitely less than 10% of their business. I'd say less than 1, probably.
Probably. As much as to other stuff as they ship. Yeah, probably.
So, well, we're coming down to the bottom of the hour, man. If you would please, we do this every time you're on. Plug your stuff. Let everybody know where they can get to you, and tilting at windmills. Tell them about that.
Oh, sure. Tilting at Windmills. It's my Substack newsletter. It is generally not firearm related, but sometimes it is. Usually, if somebody else gets to talk about. But you can find that at tomknighton.substack.com. That is where I've got something 5 days a week. You can find me on Twitter at the Tom Knighton, and of course you can find me at Bearing Arms and other Daily Bullet every other Monday.
Yes, absolutely. We actually had somebody on Twitter the other day say they were looking for that good-looking Tom Knighton to come back, and so don't know who that could have been though.
No, I would never do something like that. Ever.
All right. On my end, I want to remind everybody, please do come back and join us all the rest of this week, 5 p.m. Central Time, for more editions of Bullet. And come back and join me in 29 minutes and 30 seconds when we do Polite Society Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We